Good morning and welcome to the training of the Performance Assessment Framework of North Macedonia. We have two aims with this presentation. First of all, we would like to show you the website, what we developed for the Performance Assessment Framework. And secondly, we would like to show you in a very practical way how you can update the indicators, the values of those indicators for what you are responsible, and you need to update them in the future. In the PAF, at the moment, we have approximately 400 indicators, which are already uploaded to the system, to the website. All of these indicators were agreed with the relevant ministries. And at the end of last year, the government of North Macedonia officially approved this set of monitoring indicators. So this is an official monitoring tool of the country. And the aim of it is to measure the progress, the performance of the country under these sectors, which are covered by the PAF. The PAF has two websites. There is a public website, which is available for everybody, for the general public. And there is another website, which is non-public, and this is the so-called administrative website, which is available only for you, for the colleagues from the different ministries who will work with these indicators and who will update the values of these indicators. This is the opening site of the PAF public website. As you see, all these indicators and all this website will be available at three languages: English, Macedonian, and Albanian language. At the opening site, you find 11 bubbles. Under each of them, you will find one sector relevant for the IPA programs. There is two exceptions on the top. Under this bubble, you find the indicators which are relevant for the Justice and Home Affairs sector. And under this one, which is called Democracy and Governance, you find all the indicators which are relevant for the public administration reform and public finance management sector. If you select any of these sectors, for example, let's select now the competitiveness sector. If you click on it, then this will be the site of the sector. On the left side of the page, you will see all the intervention areas which are important under this sector. If you select any of them, then you will see that how many indicators belong to this intervention area, and you can list them here on the top part of the page, all the indicators which belong to this intervention area. Let me show you just two examples. For example, this indicator, it is just for as an example, number of enterprises. Here we have no benchmark country, we have only North Macedonia presented on this graph. We always presented the latest 3 years for which data is available. We didn't want to have a very crowded graph here. And of course, during the years, as you will add fresher and fresher data for the coming years, of course, there will be more and more columns here. And there is on the right side of the table a target value defined for the indicator. There is no target value defined for each and every indicator in the PAF, but there is a target value for more than half of the indicators. But even those indicators, when there is no target value defined, it's important to measure the progress for that indicator also. But if there is a target value, the source of this target value might be either the strategic response, what we developed during the IPA-free programming period, and the strategic response was already submitted officially to the European Union, to Brussels, as an official document of the country, including the target values defined for these indicators by the end of the current programming period, which is 2027. In some cases, some exceptional cases, you will see target value defined for other years, not 2027, but that's the exception. For example, in case of the transport sector, when the strategy defines target values by 2030, so the target values in that sector will be defined also here in the PAF for 2030, but that's the exception. So the first source of the target value might be the strategic response. It might come also from any of your relevant sector strategies, if there is a target value defined for these indicators. And it might also come from an action document, from a log frame of an action document, what we prepared and submitted under the IPA program. If you click on the See More button, then you can open the so-called passport of the indicator. In this passport, on the top part, you will find the values of the indicator in a table form also, so not only on the graph. And in the below part of the passport, you will find more relevant information which is needed for you in order to be able to update the values. because here you will find the information about the calculation of the indicator, about the source of the data, and about the timing of the data update. The timing of the data update is important because when it's time to update any of your indicators in the PAF, then the PAF system will send you an automatic message, and you will know that this is the time to update the indicators, so you don't have to follow yourself that when you should update the indicators. About the calculation, you will find the information here in the passport of the indicator. You are really lucky if you have indicators when there is information written only next to the numerator, because it means that you don't have to do any calculation yourself. The data is coming directly from a data source. We will see an example soon in just a couple of minutes when it will be a different example when you will need to do some calculation. About the source of the indicator. If the source of the data is published anywhere on the internet, then each and every case you will find a link here. And if you just click on this link, it will take you directly to the data source. For example, in case of this indicator, the Maxstat database. And you will find additional information what you need to select from the table in order to get the proper value, but we will have a look at some examples concretely later during the presentation. Let me just show you one more example. In case of this indicator, as you see, it's not only Macedonia, but also the European Union value is presented on the graph. If there is a benchmark country, on the graph you always present only the EU value and North Macedonian value. No other benchmark countries are presented on the graph because we didn't want to have too crowded graphs. But if there is any other target country, benchmark country, then you will see it here in the table. For example, in case of this indicator, we also have the value of Serbia, so the Serbian values are visible here in the table, but not on the graph. But let's have a look at the second part of the passport. As you see, here there are significantly more information written than in case of the previous indicator. And this is because in case of this indicator, there is a need for a calculation. So here are written how you need to calculate the indicator. So there is no need to think, to invent how you can get the value, what you need to write to the PAF system. But basically you just follow step by step what is written here, and it's an easy and simple way to get the proper value. For example, in case of this indicator, you have to divide the numerator, which is the number of enterprises, by the denominator, which is the population. And you have also an additional step. You have to multiply this value by 100,000. You have to multiply it by 100,000 because the indicator is the number of enterprises per 100,000 inhabitants. But about the additional step, you might find other instructions here. For example, exchange rate between euro and dinar, or there are some indicators when the data is published on quarterly basis. So the additional step will be that you need to sum up the values of the 4 quarters of the year, etc. But the important message is that everything is written here, clearly defined how to calculate the indicator, so it will be very easy and simple. Of course, if there is a calculation and separate numerator and denominator, then of course the source is defined for each of them separately. And if we have even a benchmark country, then it's the same for the benchmark country also. And if you just click on any of these links, as I was showing to you, even in case of the benchmark or Macedonia, it will take you directly to the database, so it will be easy for you to get the proper value. The main message of this presentation of the passport of the indicator is really that both the calculation and the source is clearly defined in the PAF, so there will be no need that it will be easy for you to update the values in the future.